Yeah, so basically, Israel, as a result of its obviously monstrous actions, has been amping up its propaganda campaign. This has really resulted in a lot of wild shit going out. They aired an ad at the Super Bowl. Um, it's been going hard. But it's really interesting because in the process of going hard, there have been some goof 'em ups. Let's say. Let's pull this up real quick. There we go. So basically, here's the official account of the State of Israel on Twitter, saying 11,000 trucks, 140,000 tons of food, 1,000 water trucks, 17,000 tons of medical supplies, 23,000 tons of tents and shelter equipment. Israel will continue to facilitate the transfer of life-saving humanitarian aid to Gaza. Our war is with Hamas, not with the people of Gaza. And like that's really cool. Look, Israel's doing something really nice. Donating so much stuff. Look at this nicely ordered little tent camp for refugees. That's real nice. Or at least it would be if it wasn't actually a stock footage of a refugee camp in Moldova for Ukrainian refugees. It's literally the same picture with the contrast turned up to really make it pop, you know? Got to make sure it pops on social media. And this is from, again, the official state account. But if you wonder why a lot of Israeli citizens feel like the invasion is going well and like, you know, no civilians are being killed in Gaza en masse, it's because they are getting propagandized to with stuff like this that is just blatantly false, you know? And also it kind of falls on deaf ears when it turns out that Israeli settlers have been doing a civilian campaign to block aid to the Gaza Strip, essentially going with their cars to either with their bodies or with their cars prevent the trucks getting aid to Gaza. Here's just a quick video of all these people on the road to go and participate. All these people are turning up to block aid trucks. Allegedly, you know. We don't get that full context from the video, but yeah. And then we have one of the newest pieces of Israeli propaganda, which is that the UNRWA had Hamas tunnels underneath it. That essentially claiming that the UNRWA is a front for Hamas. And this, you know, with calls to dismantle the UNRWA. Now, one thing you have to understand about the UNRWA is that for a very long time, it has been one of the Gaza Strip's most important lifelines to the outside world. It is one of the largest organizations that actively supplies and disperses humanitarian aid in the country. And without the UNRWA, basically getting aid to where it needs to go within the Gaza Strip becomes impossible, right? So it is no surprise then that the Israeli government has had a long-time goal of dismantling the UNRWA. One of the only organizations that the UN works with within the Gaza Strip. And yeah, essentially, you all remember, like, not that long ago, was the Al-Shifa Hospital was the headquarters, the nerve center for Hamas. And then they went in, and it turns out, nope. Israel built an underground basement that had administrative services for the hospital as well as laundry for the hospital back in like the 70s. And they were just assuming that it was being used as the nerve center for Hamas. And it did not appear to have actually been used that way. And wouldn't you know it, despite all of these scary, scary pictures. Oh, the UNRWA HQ Gaza. Oh, it's scary. Look, tunnels. Scary. Wowee. Okay? Despite all of that, turns out a lot of this is nonsense. Michael Cobbs does a really good job here breaking this down over on Twitter. In an elaborate campaign, the IDF presented its evidence that a Hamas data center was found just below UNRWA HQ in Gaza City. They released a series of videos, and the Israeli Foreign Ministry wished good luck refuting this unbeatable evidence. You know? Literally said good luck disproving this. Okay? After the UNRWA HQ had been besieged for weeks, this new discovery is indeed somewhat surprising, especially since plenty of time has passed to prepare everything thoroughly. Finally, the IDF organized a tour for selected journalists to UNRWA HQ. What they were presented with in the courtyard was a hole. The IDF had drilled this hole to prove that a Hamas data center was located just below UNRWA HQ. Drilled. So there was no entrance or exit through which one could have entered the tunnel from UNRWA HQ. So what they're trying to imply here is that there is a tunnel network underneath the UNRWA, right? When you hear tunnel network below the UNRWA, the implication is that you can get into the tunnels from the UNRWA. That, in fact, the UNRWA is an active participant in this tunnel network. It is actively a part of Hamas. It has been connected to Hamas infrastructure. Never mind the fact that, like, even if that were the case, even if there were, like, a tunnel that, like, a passage that connected to this tunnel within the UNRWA, given how often Israel bombs the Gaza Strip, it's really not that surprising that there would be a go-to, like, bomb shelter equivalent for the UNRWA. But we don't even have to really consider that option because, again, there are no entrances from the UNRWA or exits to the UNRWA from this tunnel network. If there were, Israel would not have had to drill a hole to get into it. So here, after leaving the tunnel back through the way we entered, we boarded an armored personnel carrier to take us to the UNRWA headquarters, as walking there above ground was too exposed to potential Hamas snipers. The headquarters appeared to be largely intact, unlike many of the surrounding buildings that had been pummeled by Israeli strikes. Passing through the main gate, reading UNRWA HQ Gaza, and a nearby building with similar text in English and Arabic, and bearing the UN logo, we reached the courtyard from which the combat engineers dug down into the electrical room. Yeah, so you can see here. Oh, come on. Guess you can't see here. But like they literally drilled like a vertical shaft down. This is not like an actual entrance or exit, which again they wouldn't have had to do if they had an actual entrance or exit. The journalists were also not allowed to enter the Hamas data center through this hole. Instead, the journalists were shown a video and allowed to film the reflective screen of the Solo Pro minicam with their mobile phones. So, like, the journalists who were shown this were not actually able to verify that this is what was inside the tunnel. Of course, everything had to be submitted and approved by the Israeli military before any of it could be published. Which, again, we talked about this briefly, but Israel basically has a stranglehold on whatever any journalist posts that is embedded with the IDF. So if you are in Israel with the IDF, they get to decide what is published and how it is presented. Allegedly, a drone was lowered into the drill hole. In fact, the Solo Pro Mini Reel is a sanitary camera on a cable, so the camera wasn't guided through the data center by a drone, but by the hands of a soldier. Likely, the unsuspecting journalists on the genocide PR tour were shown a video that had been recorded beforehand, and this video on a small reflective screen probably did not contain the crucial transition from the drilled hole to the data center, nor did any of the videos released by Israel. These videos cut from a battery room directly to the interior room of the pipe without transition. So this video that they were shown appears to have been edited. Why would you need to do that? Why would you need to fabricate a video and then display it as if it were a real-time event if your evidence was so good? Of course, you also have to wonder how a several meters long steel pipe keeps its own weight floating in the air without touching the ground so that a soldier can go somewhere from inside the pipe with the toilet camera. However, it should be noted that so far there's no evidence that the hole drilled by the IDF leads anywhere except into the depths, and that the journalists were apparently only shown a prepared video. So, yeah, even, like, a couple of things. Even if you grant that this hole goes into tunnels, there's absolutely no evidence that it was accessible by UNRWA. There's no evidence that there is even a complex down there because they showed a fabricated video. Yeah, they did the same with the command center, Coconuts Julius. Exactly. There were cuts in the video. So strange. Why lie? Especially when it's such an obvious lie. From this video screening, the PR tour drove the journalists 350 meters north. There, the IDF had excavated an enormous crater about 20 meters deep, at the bottom of which was the entrance to a tunnel was found. Right there. According to the IDF map, this entrance is located in the northern corner of the schoolyard of the UNRWA Al-Rimal School. The satellite image generously outlines the entire neighborhood as a school, while, as you can see right here, Google Earth refers to the special school complex as Al Zaytun Preparatory Boys School. The Al Ramal School is adjacent to the northeast of it, which you can see here and here. Cool stuff. The crater is also not on the school grounds, but on a traffic island northwest of it. While the tunnel runs almost parallel to the school, the camera in the photo is looking in the direction of the UNRWA compound, and it is obvious that the tunnel does not run in that direction. So basically, like, a bunch of these OpSint guys are like, oh, great, you provided, like, geotagging, so we know where you are claiming these tunnels are. But I guess the IDF never really thought that anyone would bother to check whether or not their story was even plausible. Well, and that's the thing, Zach Wilson. All of their lies have been obvious over and over, but only if you are someone who has who's critical of their narrative, right? if you're willing, if someone is ride or die for their narrative, then what they're being provided with are essentially like fake talking points to solidify their position. How the IDF knew there was a tunnel 20 meters below a traffic island is a moot point. Why they had to dig an immense crater in weeks of preparation for the PR tour is just as much a mystery. Crucially, the tunnel does not lead towards the school and not towards the UNRWA HQ. Nor is there a straight line between the drilled hole and this traffic island that leads under the UNRWA HQ building. So this is the drilled hole. This is UNRWA HQ. Yep, there. This is the hole right here. So yeah, none of this makes any sense. The hole is going this way, not this way. In this context, it is interesting to listen to the exact wording of the German ARD Tagesschau. On the way to Gaza City, we see the extent of the destruction. We must submit the footage of this post to the Israeli military censor before publication. The army wants to show us a Hamas tunnel under the headquarters of the UN Refugee Agency, UNRWA, in Gaza City. To prove that the tunnel is underneath, the army dug this shaft. About 350 meters as the crow flies, below the UNRWA school, we enter the tunnel. The entrance was dug by the army. At a depth of about 20 meters, we see elaborately developed rooms. IDF, that's under a school. Tagesschau, but is there a tunnel entrance from the school? IDF, that's not what it's about. The tunnel is under a school. This is to protect Hamas leaders. They use school children as human shields. Tagesschau, further away under the UNRWA headquarters, according to the Israeli army, Hamas operated an intelligence headquarters supplied with electricity from above. We can't verify that. UNRWA says it cannot comment on this, but it has always followed up on indications of tunnels in the past. Which, it's so interesting, right? Because the thing that is said time and time again by the IDF is, oh, well, they use human shields. They put the tunnel this way to protect to protect their leaders. But like, you're saying you're bombing the school to try and bomb a segment of tunnel underneath it? Like, you don't even know that there's a headquarters under there? You're just assuming there is. My God. The entrance isn't on the school grounds. The IDF claims to be below the school. The IDF claims Hamas uses school children as human shields. The IDF claims that there is a Hamas intelligence headquarters under UNRWA HQ. The ARD cannot verify it. UNRWA cannot comment on this, saying they don't know anything about the tunnel. However, indications of tunnels have always been investigated. The sixth point can be confirmed with a quick Google search. According to UNRWA Chief Felipe Lazzarini, UNRWA personnel had already vacated the HQ on October 12th on the orders of the Israeli military. Points 4 and 5 say that the PR tours for journalists apparently did not go through the tunnel to the alleged intelligence headquarters, but had to rely on the information provided by the IDF, as well as the video from the toilet camera. But where are they here if not the Hamas data center? We'll get to that in a moment. Interesting. Point 3 is extremely questionable since Hamas would only be endangered under the most severe war conditions at a depth of 20 meters, if at all. There would be no children in school during these times, so the human shield will not work if the worst comes to the worst. So the IDF argument takes itself to the point of absurdity. Point 2 is an outright lie, as we noted above, and point 1 confirms that the satellite map published by the IDF is, to put it nicely, misleading. Yeah. Again, the tunnel goes this way, and the IDF hole is over this way. So, like, they're almost completely perpendicular to each other. Perpendicular? Is that the right word? I might have just said a dumb word. Almost. They're almost going crisscross. They are going crisscross. Applesauce. There we go. A much more technical term for a more civilized age. If you try to find out where the 20-meter deep tunnel entrance leads, the video released by the IDF usually shows a soldier climbing through a welded protective door, but that door isn't there. You can see this door, this door right here, not here. In other videos, a cheerful journalist climbs into the tunnel without a safety door, apparently looking straight into a bright room at the far end. Note the thick cables on the far right side of the tunnel. Thick cables. Perpendicular intersects at a right angle. Okay, yeah, there we go. In variant 3, another journalist climbs into the tunnel, follows it straight ahead, and also arrives at a brighter place, but without cables on the right wall. He didn't have to climb through a protective door either. After a cut in which the wall changes from a rough vertical pattern to the Hamas tunnel concrete elements into narrow horizontal lines, he suddenly finds himself in the battery room. And this is the same battery room that the IDF allegedly entered through the drilled hole with the toilet camera, even in the same direction. The bright room with the cables on the right is probably just this fork in the road, which leads to the left into a closed room, and to the right into a further tunnel. This means that this further tunnel probably runs under the road southwest and not at all to UNRWA HQ in the southeast. Back to the question of where the journalists of the ARD Tagashau apparently ended up, because as she says in the commentary, she did not see the alleged intelligence headquarters at the other end of the tunnel. So where is she? Again, this is her microphone. She is in a room where Hamas has allegedly cut all of the cables coming from above, and all of these cables, according to the IDF, were previously connected to the small box on the wall, which seems absurd per se. Which, yeah, that is a lot of cables to be plugged into this box. Like that is very absurd. The column of the wall is also striking. So we are in a building and no longer in a tunnel system. Interesting. Yeah, Ukrainian. In short, we are in the basement of the UNRW building, and what we are shown is the UNRWA data center in the basement of the same building. Why Hamas would cut all the cables here remains a mystery, but a Reuters video sheds a little more light on the matter. Hamas had command centers under UN Gaza headquarters, Israeli military says. See here, the cut cables, box, etc. Interesting. The IDF claim is that the cables that disappear into the ground there go directly to the Hamas intelligence center and connect that intelligence center to the UNRWA servers. However, unsuspecting journalists are not told that in data centers of a large organization such as UNRWA, the cables usually are laid under the floor, which is absolutely true. I've been in these rooms. And since no one amongst the journalists has seen the data center, we are now in the realm of fantasy at the latest. This fantastic intel center is mixed in various wild video potpourris with, for example, senior/disabled scooters, as if Hamas was rolling through the narrow tunnels at a snail's pace. This, too, is medical material, presumably in the basement of UNRWA. That's so weird. I gotta be honest, folks. I feel like this is staged as hell. This is such a weird thing to throw in there. I don't know exactly what's going on here. All I know is that I do not trust the IDF's statements or videos on this at all. And that in turn means that a curved ceiling is not synonymous with Hamas tunnel. In another video potpourri, an IDF soldier finds a single mortar shell on the shelf among a spray, a US cable, an old phone, and paperwork. That's the way they do it. Come on, it's Hamas. What the hell? Yeah, you know, you got your little mortar shell just mixed in with all your other shit. You know, just in case. You know, it like goes in your like scissors drawer. You know. Another detached room with antique furniture. The IDF finds a number of weapons, some of them completely rusted. However, the documents of the terrorists were apparently blurred, presumably in order to not be able to establish a connection to a completely different incident. Uh-huh. And so the IDF proudly shows us what they've found in UNRWA HQ. Wowee. Very dangerous stuff. Okay. Only a particularly rusted sniper rifle, a stolen IDF weapon with a 60mm grenade, are on the truck for some reason and not in the display of finds. A rascal who thinks that possibly all weapons came with this vice and only the particularly implausible ones remain in the truck. Yeah, it's almost like they just pulled out a bunch of random props and put them out to take a picture of. Potpourri? Okay. But there's one more video posted by the OSINT613 Twitter account. This account is not so much OSINT as Israeli intel, and similar to the Ukrainian Nazi kill list Mirotvorets, this account sells a kill card set with Hamas leaders and maintains the eliminated list. That's super normal. On February 6th, this account published a video in astonishingly poor quality, which is why the video could just as well be years old and may not have been launched from the Secret Service's drawer. Video was circulated by Daily Mail. The place is commonly referred to as Gaza. I think this is the video. Okay. Oh. Hey, Sophie. I'm doing all right. People don't seem to be very chatty, though.
מה זה האונר"א? אונר"א בתחת שלי. זה לא דיווח, זה דיווח, לא? אתה יודע, מספיק שהוא רואה מי הולך פה. אפשר להמצאת פה הכל. מה זה? אפשר להמצאת פה הכל. כן, הכל צריך, אתה רואה אבל? אפשר להמצאת הכל. ככה זה היה לנו בדיוק בזה. הם רוקנו. רוקנו. אבל מה נשאר? לא, באמת, תראה, אלו אמורים להיות מעניינים.
Hey, young black economist. So, yeah, that definitely appears to be a server room. This server room is accessible via a tunnel with a number of orange cables running. Oh shit, is this the same tunnel? Running along the ceiling. When you enter the server room, the mostly empty server cabinets are on the left side. If you compare the two rooms, then the server room with the cut cables is definitely oh shit. These yeah, these look very similar. But like are they trying to say it's the same room? God damn it. I miss having the ability to just zoom in on pictures. For the love of God. Elon, why? Why have you ruined this? Okay. Just wanted to be able to fucking zoom in on these pictures. All right. We got this one. This one. No, these are different rooms. Enhance. Enhance! Okay. Let's see, a different room with different humidifiers, different server cabinets, different back wall, and no indication of cables coming through the ceiling. At the same time, there's no bundle of orange cables disappearing into the ground in the UNRWA basement. The publication of the blurry video without comment is rather disturbing, as the timing is more in line with the planned journalist tour than with the usual breaking news of the IDF Twitter channel, which as far as I know did not mention this video at all. In addition, not only has not a single journalist seen the alleged data center, but Israel has apparently also released prepared press/TV material so that one can find almost identical reports on various channels right down to the editing. Nope. Not gonna get me. Okay. This one. Okay. All in all, there's no proof of the alleged data center under UNRWA, but I think it is aptly proven that Israel once again lied about the direction of the tunnel. So its anti-UNRWA propaganda campaign. Yeah, of course it is. That's the conclusion of this thread. This man stands in the basement of UNRWA HQ and lies. These are Hamas intelligence servers. Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting. That's so scummy. I'd be dodging copyright like Neo from the Matrix. True. But legally distinctly from Neo from the Matrix. My God. What an odyssey. What an odyssey. What a crazy number of like inexplicable lies if you were to try and claim that they were telling the truth, you know? Okay, we actually have more weirdness about this propaganda campaign. So, I guess journalists were shown a map before their tunnel tour. This map was more detailed, but just as wrong. According to this map, the IDF would have actually pushed the pipe right through the ceiling of the battery room. So, according to the map they showed, the pipe, the hole that they drilled would go right into the battery room, which is not what we see. Strangely, you don't see the tube in the battery room photos. Instead, as some people pointed out, those green boxes are hybrid solar inverters. Why Hamas operates solar inverters under the only building without solar panels must remain a mystery. Though the image is from 2022, maybe in the last 2 years, last year and a half, UNRWA headquarters added solar panels. But yeah, I mean, the resemblance here is striking. That is indeed what these are, right? They look exactly the same. So the map that they were shown before their tour was wrong and misleading. And then these aren't something one would have underneath a non-solar powered building. So this just seems like more lies. It looks like a few even more selected than selected journalists were allowed into the battery room. Here, the colonel tells them that they have now walked 400 meters through the tunnel, even though the hole they drilled is only 260 meters away from the school. Interesting. Assuming they walked 400 meters in the initial direction of the tunnel, they would be under the Islamic University, founded by the Muslim Brotherhood, just like Hamas, and with lots of solar panels on the roof. Just a guess. So, again, they're claiming here in this tunnel, it seems like they're claiming that the tunnel is actually way over here when they're in that particular room. They're underneath a university. As opposed to UNRWA, which is quite a ways away, actually, from the drilled hole. I'm getting a bit confused about the placement of these things as we go along. In any case, we must acknowledge that the basement rooms are definitely Hamas rooms, as a hastily pasted note proves beyond a doubt. A bit very sloppy, but hey, that's Hamas. Even the senior/disabled scooters stand in front of a Hamas poster. Well, you know, they posted these stickers everywhere. It must be Hamas. Are you kidding me? Man, this feels so fucking lazy. I swear. It's also astonishing that 3-phase cables as thick as a leg arrive in this solar battery room. With this, Hamas could have supplied an entire city district, not just 5 lampposts, so to say. Has anyone noticed the IDF's hidden message? In the appendix of one of their videos, they've already animated the clouds of smoke that are supposed to rise after the tunnel is blown up. A large cloud rises next to the Islamic University. I wonder why. Are you kidding me? So they knew it was underneath the Islamic University. They blew that up. Oh my god. Absolutely insane. The level of lies is so, like, it feels like we're in an Inception situation where we just keep getting another layer of lies, another layer of lies, another layer of lies, and it's just like, why so many? It's wild. Yes, as we all know, Arabic means Hamas. Malachi, very true. My god. So yeah, things are not going particularly great in Gaza itself. Not a ton of good news coming out of there. If it's any consolation whatsoever, the pressure on these ghouls is getting stronger. And you can see because they're getting flustered. And by ghouls, of course, I mean the ghouls in the United States. So here's one of the press secretaries standing in front of reporters talking about Gaza.
Okay, to push a little bit more on Sean's question, like EU's foreign policy chief Borrell, for example, said US should consider cutting aid to Israel, and we know that there is growing frustration with Netanyahu's government. Is that at all a possibility that the administration is considering if, you know, it would not have any success in the coming days in terms of moving Israel?
So let me say a few things about that. The most important of which is that we have pursued the policy that we think gives us the maximum ability to be successful in influencing how Israel conducts its military campaign. And how
are you happy with the results?
In many cases, no, absolutely we are not. We are happy with the fact that we have been able to get humanitarian assistance into Israel. That is the direct result of into Gaza. That is the direct result of U.S. intervention. But at the same time, there has not been enough humanitarian assistance that has gotten in.
Yeah, again, Israeli settlers are going en masse to block that humanitarian assistance. So, like, it's really not that effective, guy. Like, we let like a little bit of assistance in as a treat. Like, fuck you. You Admiral Tarkin looking motherfucker.
We are happy with some of the deconfliction measures that Israel has put in place at our specific urging, at the request of the Secretary and others in the administration. Those deconfliction measures have not been as successful as we would like them to be. We are happy that over the past month, we have seen civilian casualties come down from.
I hate this, man. This is the stuff that makes me like doomer. You know, like it takes a lot, but I do eventually get to that point. Like this sucks. Like this is the language of people who are doing fuck all to stop an atrocity. Just it makes me want to throw up. And we get new evidence every day. I mentioned earlier, like there was a 6-year-old Palestinian girl who got caught up in an explosion. Her entire family was killed, and she got stuck in the car that they were all in. And she called the Palestinian Red Crescent. There's audio of the call. I'm not going to play it here. And they sent an ambulance to try and get her out of the car. And one thing you need to know is that the Palestinian Red Crescent coordinates with the IDF to try and ensure that their ambulances are not bombed and that victims of attacks are not bombed. And they blew up that poor baby, and they blew up the ambulance. You know, that this is an organization that coordinated with the IDF. So we know the IDF knew what that ambulance was doing, why it was there. We know that the IDF knew that there was a 6-year-old Palestinian girl, and they don't care. These are war crimes. And the fact that that evidence exists out there and the U.S. State Department gives weaselly little non-answers like this is heartbreaking. And the thing is about this case of, I believe the young girl's name, yeah, what was her name? Yeah, her name was Hind Rajab. Yeah. Blown up by an Israeli tank that targeted their family car. That also blew up the 2 medics and the ambulance. One of her uncles stated that when he found the car, it was peppered with bullet holes. So not just a single Israeli shell from a tank, you know, something that like you could maybe like try and say like, oh, that could have been an accident, perhaps, but you don't both blow it up with a tank round and then shoot it with machine guns and then say, oh, whoops, our bad. Family members found Hines' body along with those of her aunt and uncle and their 3 children near a roundabout in the city's Tal al-Hawab suburb, Palestinian news agency Wafa reported. Despite prior coordination to allow the ambulance to reach the location to rescue the child, the occupation deliberately targeted the Palestine Red Crescent ambulance crew, who, again, also perished. And the Palestinian Red Cross itself, or Red Crescent, sorry, released the audio of the phone calls. And again, not going to play them. But this 6-year-old is crying on the phone, begging to be rescued. And it is believed that at the time of that call, everyone else in the car was dead. And she is heard on the phone saying, "I'm so scared, please come, please call someone to come and take me." The call lasted for 3 hours. There's a lot of audio. Only a fraction of it released. So, I'm sorry, what? She was trapped in the car for 3 hours before the call ended. Before she was killed. In an interview with Al Jazeera Arabic shortly after the family was targeted, Hines' mother said she had managed to speak with her Hind and an older cousin, 15-year-old Lion Hamadeh, who was with Hind in the car. Lion was recorded saying, "They are shooting at us, the tank is next to us." Then a barrage of shooting is heard, followed by screams, and then the line cuts out. So honestly, I feel like the conclusion here is that the Palestinian Red Crescent Society coordinated with the IDF, told the IDF where they were going, what was happening there, and then they still blew them up anyway. They murdered that 6-year-old. They murdered those paramedics who were there to try and save a 6-year-old child. And I mean, like, it's not so much of this is already too late. So much of this hemming and hawing is already too late. But it is still somewhat good to see that the atrocities are not going unnoticed by people in positions of power. So we had today on the Senate floor, Chris Van Hollen, senator from Maryland, talking about the situation in Gaza. And we're going to listen to a bit of what he had to say.
Madam President, I want that to sink in. Kids in Gaza are now dying from the deliberate withholding of food. In addition to the horror of that news, one other thing is true. That is a war crime. It is a textbook war crime. And that makes those who orchestrate it war criminals. So now the question is, what will the United States do? What will we do? What will President Biden do? President Biden must take action in response to what is happening. First and foremost,
honestly, I wish we had more people in positions of power who were willing to say anything about it. Like that was 55 seconds, you know? That's not enough. We need like someone who actually has like the fortitude, the spine to do like a filibuster. And not just like a small one, but like a filibuster for like 4 days straight. You know? We need more of that strength in positions of power in the United States. That can be inconvenient to people. That can get them to think, that can force them to act. It's really awful. And I don't think that Biden is doing anywhere near enough to stop it. I don't know that he plans to. I mean, like, we just watched that press secretary essentially say, well, you know, we haven't actually, like, threatened to pull any of our aid to Israel. Well, then they're not going to do anything. You've just told them, please. Oh, we would really like it if you didn't kill 27,000 children. And then they go, oh, yeah, sure, fine. Pfft, suckers. It's horrifying. Horrifying. No, Biden's priority is managing the threat of Iran, or his perception of the threat of Iran. He's much more interested in that, like, just historically, when it comes to foreign policy. He doesn't really care so much about Israel. And I think that really comes through here. The main question is whether or not he and his campaign are actively going to do anything, because, again, they went to Michigan the other day to shore up the Middle Eastern vote, and absolutely failed. They could not find anybody really willing to meet with them, to talk with them. And that is only going to get worse as time goes on. Like, this is an issue that's not going anywhere. And every single day, every single week, there are going to be more stories like that of Hind dominating the minds of people in America, radicalizing them against Joe Biden. Been going to protests for 14 years at this point. I know it's never been this bad since I have been protesting, but is this the worst it's been since the Nakba? Well, I mean, considering that literally over 1 million, I mean, probably at this point, like 1.5 million people have been displaced from their homes. I would say it's worse, or at least the worst it's been since the Nakba, you know? How many were expelled during the Nakba? Was it 700,000? Am I remembering that correctly? Yeah, like anywhere from like 300 to 700,000, 750,000. Yeah, so considering that more people have been displaced so far, and currently their only options are either to go into an unlivable hellscape in northern Gaza or try to flee into the Egyptian desert, I would say that that is effectively where we are right now. Yeah. Like almost double the initial diaspora from the Nakba already moved.